financing, giving the people what they want, what they need, what they love. Come and join the family that's here for you all the way. From birth to graduation, your first job to your home and your card through your golden years.
The GT Credit Union has been actively supporting nation building through its many sponsorships and programs including Financial Literacy Quiz, Pass the Torch Calypso Program, Junior Cooperatives in Secondary Schools, CPEA, and the TAMCC Grants. The credit union has helped many people make their dreams come true. Let them help you with yours. You don't have to be a teacher to be a member. So what are you waiting for?
GUT Credit Union, it's where you belong. I'm reaching my dreams with GUT. They're the ones for me. I'm reaching my dreams with GUT. They're the ones for me. Since 1983, they've been serving the country, and we like all their financing, giving the people what they want, what they need, what they love. Come and join the family that's here for you all the way. From birth to graduation, your first job to your home and your card through your golden years.
The GT Credit Union has been actively supporting nation building through its many sponsorships and programs including Financial Literacy Quiz, Pass the Torch Calypso Program, Junior Cooperatives in Secondary Schools, CPEA, and the TAMCC Grants. The credit union has helped many people make their dreams come true. Let them help you with yours. You don't have to be a teacher to be a member. So what are you waiting for?
GUT Credit Union, it's where you belong.
Welcome to A Closer Look. This is the fourth in a series of webinars organized by the Grenada Union of Teachers Credit Union. I am Sarana Mitchell. Welcome. Today's discussion, the financial impact of COVID on the family, lessons learned, actions needed. With me here today are Mrs. Retisha Boyd, who is the General Manager at GUT Credit Union, and economist Randy Boyd Cadet, Acting Deputy Comptroller in the Inland Revenue Department in the Ministry of Finance. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, sir.
Are you ready to discuss after a long day? Counting numbers. We're dealing with the figures people today. I will talk, you count. Welcome. I'd like to ask both of you to just share a little about yourselves in a nutshell. Ladies first, Randy. Sure, no problem. So, Retisha, take it away. RR and S.
Just a little.
Yes.
I'm Retisha Boyd, the General Manager of GUT Credit Union. My two passions, finance and education, which is embodied in the GUT Credit Union in terms of our mandate for financial education, right? I have assisted with financial education, not only in the credit union movement, but also in the school system and the Commonwealth Secretariat as well, being a financial literacy coordinator for them as well. So I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to discuss the topic, because whenever we discuss topics and information, we provide information for individuals and the public so that they become more aware, and a more aware audience is a more enlightened and empowered audience and society.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Boyd. Randy.
I'm Randy Boyd, professionally Deputy Comptroller acting at the Inland Revenue Division. I am also the Vice President of the Grenada Cooperative League. I'm a patriot. I am fueled by transforming lives. I think I have the gift of service, so I'm using this opportunity today to provide expertise, experience, some suggestions to Grenadians.
All right, and he's a GBSS old boy.
Oh yeah.
No, before we could.
And what am I?
And Mrs. Boyd, old girl SJC. Hello. Before we continue and we get deep into discussion here, I'd like to invite those of you viewing on Facebook and YouTube to go to www.menti.com and use the code 5680120. The poll questions for this week are: my current emergency fund covers expenses for at least 1 to 4 months, 5 to 8 months, 9 to 12 months, don't have an emergency fund. The second question: when do you think the local economy will begin to recover? 6 to 12 months, 12 to 24 months, 2+ years. So go to www.menti.com and use the code 5680120 to answer the poll questions. Results will be shared towards the end of this program. Now to the topic at hand: financial impact of COVID on the family. Lessons learned, actions needed. Now, Randy and Ritisha, as we speak, there is a family right here in Grenada where there is little or nothing to eat. Many were just getting by before. Now, the struggle is real. Now, COVID is teaching many of us the need to face our finances and be mindful about money and spending. This brings me to one of the questions on the poll: emergency fund. Randy, you can jump in here first. Why is it important to have an emergency fund, and how do we go about making that?
So Anna, thank you. That's a very good question, and I like how you set the stage, because we have to face it. This is a real situation, and it's not business as usual. And the matters of finances and person savings and things that they tend to do with the money, it's a kind of discussion that we tend to shy away from. Most of us, including myself, we're not proud of when we look into our wallets, when we look into our bank accounts, our credit union accounts. But we have to face it. Grenadians, brothers and sisters, we have to face it. COVID has certainly placed on the table the issue of essential and non-essential. We have to decide as a people, at the home, at the individual level, organizations, and even at the state, what are the essential spendings and what are the non-essential spendings. So the whole issue of the emergency fund is something that we cannot waste time on. The theory will tell you that 20% of our income, and I want to repeat that, 20% of our income must be set aside for emergency purposes. So if you're earning $1,000, you have to put aside $200 for emergency purposes. So that has to be part of our budget. The theory will also tell you that you should have in your emergency fund 3 months income, just in case something was to happen. And you see how long COVID, and we don't know how long it will continue. So the emergency fund, yes, most persons don't have it for obvious reasons. Some of us live from paycheck to paycheck, but we have to stop, pause, make adjustments, and look at our, as I said, essential spending, non-essential spending, and see how we can transfer some of the non-essential spending into the essential spending and hope that we have enough to put into that emergency fund.
Okay, thank you very much, Randy. Ritisha, what do you want to add?
Yes, well, I would just like to add that, you know, I'll go a little further and say 3 to 6 months, you know, in terms of the fund. It may look like a gigantic feat right now, but if you start with a little adds up eventually, right? When you put aside, you have to budget. So you have to look at your income and your expenses, and then of course see those areas that are non-priority areas, those discretionary spending that you can, as Randy said, that are non-essential, and you know, face the facts and reduce the spending in that area so that you can have that savings that you can put away for emergencies. Once you would have done that kind of work, then you have to determine how you're going to hold that fund, right? That fund needs to be liquid, meaning it must be cash. So you can't tie it up in some asset where when you need it, you don't have it. So then you will have to have a savings account in maybe one of the financial institutions. You can come to GUT. We have a number of savings products for you, and you make sure that you would have that savings account where you can put that savings for emergency purposes. And in addition, set up an automatic deduction. Right? It is much easier when you can take that money from your payroll or your paycheck automatically and save it. You know, out of sight, out of mind. If you have to actually bring the money in sometimes, what happens that we spend it and we don't save it for those emergencies. So an automatic deduction is one of the easiest, you know, tricks of the trade so that you can have that. And then lastly, if you do not need it for an emergency, don't spend it. Sometimes we know we have the money there and we're holding it for, you know, an emergency, and something comes up, you see some kind of impulse buying, you see something you like and you want to touch it. Don't touch it if there's not an emergency, because when an emergency comes around, you wouldn't have it.
You talk about essential and non-essential. You know, just for those who might have things crossed, give me 2 essential and 2 non-essential that you'll be talking about.
Well, you see, the essential and non-essential differ for different people. What we can look at for us to make that determination is what is a need versus a want. Right? A need would be something that is required for survival. So you need food, you need clothing, you need shelter. And a want basically is what would help you, you know, enjoy life a little bit more. It is not essential, it's just a desire. So you need food, but you want Italian. No, that does not mean that if you don't get Italian, you will die. Right? So what happens now, you have to prioritize. And when you prioritize, the needs become essential and the wants are non-essential.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you very much. Now, Randy, you brought up paycheck to paycheck. Many of us are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, how can one make ends meet if we do not have an emergency fund, or if we did, by now it's dried up?
I always make the point that it matters not how much money you work for. It matters how you spend your money. Because you can use 2 individuals, put them in the same supermarket, and tell them, I'm giving you 1 minute to shop. And I can bet my last dollar that the basket of goods that those 2 individuals will choose will be varying, will be different. So persons have to, as Ritisha said, look at your wants, look at your needs. And let's focus on food, for example, because generally speaking, persons who are under the low income brackets tend to spend a larger proportion of their income on food. So let's assume that your food budget is $200. Within the food budget, you have to decide, what can I do without? What can I sacrifice for next month? So if you're accustomed, and I use the same example I'm accustomed using, if you're accustomed eating chicken breasts, you can cut back on that and eat drumstick instead. If it's not the point I'm making, or perhaps chicken wings. The most important thing here is looking at your budget and identify, what can I cut out? What can I do without? What can I sacrifice for future? Because at the end of the day, You do not know, especially during this period, if you will receive an increase in your income. What you know is how much money you're earning now. What you can also know is how much can I save. So we have control over the things that we save. So as I said, if you're earning $1,000 and you look at your wallet, you don't like what you see, try to cut back. Now is the time where we have to seriously and honestly look for ways to cut back on our spendings.
Okay. Now that brings me to proper spending habits and maintaining healthy finances, especially in this environment. I'm throwing it out there to both of you. Let's expound on what you were talking about earlier.
Let's look at entertainment. A typical household will have food, clothing, shelter, entertainment, transportation, gas as part of their monthly bills. You may have a desire to go to travel. I want to include travel as well, because some persons cannot do without traveling. You can say, for example, instead of traveling once a year, I will travel, whether to the United States or Caribbean island, once a month.
Right now we're grounded, but anyway, continue.
All right, well, we are asked to vacate home, you know. Yes, so the point is we have to, again, look at our budget. People tend to record a listing of the expenses and not necessarily a budget. So you know, every month I have to pay flow, I have to pay lime, I have to pay etc. But at the end of the day, month after month, are you increasing your spending on those bills, or are you reducing your spending? And I think one of the good things about utility bills, we can control the amount we spend based on our consumption patterns. So the family have to sit down around the table when they're having dinner or breakfast and say, here what, this month we are spending $200 on electricity, no more. And you look for ways to cut back. Yes, this is the time for families to sit down and be frank, and be open, and be honest, and make some serious decisions, because we do not know how long this period will last.
No, it's scary. March, for us, it's been March, and now it's September, and we're still here, you know. Ritisha, you want to add anything?
Yes, just to add to what Randy was saying about honesty. The reality is that we have limited resources as individuals, as households, as countries, as organizations. We have limited resources, right? And usually when we're talking here now about budgeting and spending, the resource we're talking about here is money, right? So we do not have a money tree that we can go in the backyard and just pick from. I think everybody would wish they had something like that. And because you have limited resources, you cannot get everything that you want. So you have limited resources, but you have unlimited wants. And because of that, you have to look at yourself and look at your household and realize that you have to choose what you have to spend on. In other words, you have to prioritize what is important versus what is not important. Sometimes we spend as if we are earning more than we actually earning, right? And for some persons, what we have observed and discovered is that some persons who are actually making more and have larger incomes are actually spending less, and they're being more frugal than persons who may be earning less than they are. So we have to prioritize. So therefore, we have to look at our spending and determine what is important, not what we would like, what is important, and then spend on the important things and set aside those things that are not important. But in order for us to determine that, we have to be honest. We cannot be tricking ourselves into thinking that certain things are important when it's not important. It's an icing on the cake, right? But it's not the cake. So you can eat the cake without the icing. You don't necessarily need the icing. So it's about introspection, and it's about looking at your situation honestly and brutally.
Okay.
You want to add that, yeah, we are all guilty of justifying bad behaviors, justifying bad spending, and we need to stop. We need to stop. If you are serious about surviving this period, if you are serious about putting our families on a sustainable path, we have to stop justifying bad spending and put our monies where we know it will grow later on.
you know, as Ritisha pointed out, needs and wants,
Correct.
essential, non-essential.
Correct.
You started talking about sitting at the table and looking at the utility bills. What are some of the lessons parents can teach their children in these times?
Nothing is wrong in a little sacrifice. Nothing is wrong in a little sacrifice. I want to use an example. And my daughters, for example, during lockdown, I guess most parents can say the same thing. Children were eating. And as fast as they asked, you were given. You had to say no, because that cost. And I think if we start nurturing the whole issue of doing without, work with what you have, cope within the context, if we start instilling all those, to me, simple values within the younger minds, later on, they will understand. So the sacrifice that adults have to make now, and Ivan, for example, to me, was a stepping stone for this period. It taught me how to cope without. So Ivan was a lesson. COVID, to me, come and punctuate the lesson that Ivan was supposed to teach us. How many of us actually learned that lesson from Ivan? I don't know, but COVID gave us a second opportunity. So if there is a third pandemic or something after, we're supposed to be more fully equipped and more prepared for this. Because, as I said, the whole issue of sacrificing, not allowing yourself to fall victim to the niceties of life. The niceties of life, the entertainment, the fast life, the look good, the jumping plane, all those things. Yeah, I'm being very frank because this topic is a very interesting topic.
Yes, it is.
I think I want to congratulate Duty at this point in time for having this topic, because families generally do not sit down and deal with the serious issues of finances. Mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, boyfriend, girlfriends, sometimes they hide. Much money you're working for, they're not having that serious discussion. But now is the time for us to consolidate. Now is the time for us to put all the cards on the table. Bring the children too. Let them know that, hey, this is what mommy or daddy is working for, and this is what we can get, this is what we cannot get. So not every single time school closed, when school reopened, getting a new school shoes, no.
I understood.
Work with what you have and care for what you have.
I think, you know, the budget is very important, and the family budget more so. And now is the time to bring the family together and let the children see you making a budget and sticking to it. That's one of the things I can attest to this. I make a budget, but sticking to it is something that it's habit. It's something that you have to grow into.
Yes.
I get the paper out and I write and next month, do I stick to it? You know? So then the need to sit at the table and have the talk.
Yes.
Put all the cards on the table. Mommy's making 20,000, if that's much. Daddy's making 10,000, and the children see, wow, you're making that. However, electricity costs XYZ, food costs XYZ. So then you cannot get this, you cannot get that. So we need to have those conversations.
Correct.
And as you pointed out, this pandemic, for you it's a second one to open up your eyes that we need to have the finance stock.
Correct.
That's necessary. So we continue. Let's continue with a little more on the budget part. How would you create a budget for a family? What do you put into that form that you would create, Miss Boyd?
Before I answer that, Saran, I just wanted to add to the last question. In addition to having the talk with the children, it really helps when they participate in the economic activity. So you're going to the grocery, you bring the child with you to the grocery. Then, okay, we have $200 to spend. This is a list of things that we have to get. Because when they actually see it in action, it becomes much more real to them than, mommy telling them this or daddy telling them that. They actually see it and understand and appreciate you having to manage the finances. And then, of course, you're teaching them a life lesson as well.
And a very important life lesson. And the grocery list is very important as part of a budget. Because if you go to the supermarket, I know, without a grocery list, you're just picking up things, and by the time you reach by the cashier, you'll be like, I only have this. How do I spend that? So it keeps you in line. So let's continue along the budget line.
Right. So in creating the budget, of course, you have to list your income, what you earn, right? For a specific period. For households, you may want to do this monthly, right? Generally, most persons would get their incomes monthly, so you'd want to list all of your incomes monthly. Then you list your expenses in terms of frequency and importance. So you list your utility bills, the mortgage, rent, those expenses that are fixed and come due regularly. And of course, you would list some of your other expenses that are not fixed. They come due periodically, like for example, your property tax that comes due once a year. But you would have to put it on the budget, because when it comes due, you don't want to be scratching your head trying to figure out where you're getting the money from. And then last at the bottom, the non-essentials, entertainment, the eating out, the mani-pedis, the vacation, those sort of things you list in order of priority, right? So the most important, and you list down. Then you look now at the non-essential expenses. How can I cut back on those expenses? Now, if your expenses are more than your income, you have a problem, right? Because in addition to listing the expenses, you must set aside some savings. So that also has to be documented. It has to be an expense as well, because you must develop a regular habit of saving. So when you list all of your total expenses, if your expenses is more than what you're making, you have some overruns. You're in the red. It means, therefore, that you're either borrowing to supplement that, right? Or you are using up some of your savings, because the money has to come from somewhere. And sometimes we're spending and we're not really checking that we're actually spending more than we are earning, right?
Yes.
So then you have to now reduce that the expense so that your expenses are not more than your income, and that you set aside a portion for your savings, right? Of course, you also have to set aside a portion for your tithes and so as well. But when you list it, out, it really becomes real to you, because sometimes you spend and you're wondering what happened to the money. We've all had that experience.
Where did the money go?
We don't know what happened to the money in our wallets. We spend it and we're sitting there now trying to say, but no, I had this amount and that amount, and you don't know where it is. So when you put it there, then you look to see, okay, what are the things I can do without in that budget, so that my income can cover my expenses and still have extra to save.
Okay, so we are here and we're talking about budgeting. It's a closer look. After this break, we'll be back with Randy giving us some on budget, right? Certainly. We'll be right back.
Reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. I'm reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. Since 1983, they've been serving the country, and we like all their financing, giving the people what they want, what they need, what they love. Come and join the family that's here for you all the way. From birth to graduation, your first job to your home, and your card through your golden years.
The GT Credit Union has been actively supporting nation building through its many sponsorships and programs, including Financial Literacy Quiz, Pass the Torch Calypso Program, Junior Cooperatives in Secondary Schools, CPEA, and the TAMCC Grants. The credit union has helped many people make their dreams come true. Let them help you with yours. You don't have to be a teacher to be a member. So what are you waiting for?
Welcome back to A Closer Look. I am Sarana Mitchell, and with me are Retisha Boyd and Mr. Cadet, Randy Boyd Cadet. Now we're talking about COVID and how it has affected the family budget or expenses. And we've been talking about budgeting just before we went to the break. We looked at needs and wants, essential, non-essentials, making the budget, and putting aside the income and the expenses. That's what Ritisha was focusing on. Randy, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I want to add, because Ritisha did a very good job in highlighting what the budget is about, really. But I want to include savings as part of your budget. That emergency fund that we spoke about, that should be part of your budget. So earlier in the conversation, Ritisha spoke about having your salary assigned to the credit union. And among that, you know, before you touch your pocket, it's in somewhere safe. That your plan is not to go there and touch it. So savings should be part of your budget. Also, at the end of it, the month, you may have an excess, because you may catch yourself spending less than what you're earning. The excess, I want to encourage Grenadians listening and looking at the program, save the excess. Don't spend the excess. We tend to spend the excess. I want to say to you, the day for spending the excess is no more. When you create your budget, down to the T, you have it documented, you look at your income, you look at your expenses, whatever you have remaining, even if it's $1 or even if it's $5, my advice to you is save it. Because the little you add today will accumulate a lot tomorrow. You see this here? This piggy bank? This is where the excess should go, really. And I just want to share an experience. During the month of August, I launched what I call a $5 challenge.
Okay.
So for example, it goes like that. Every time a $5 comes to my hand or my pocket, it must not be spent. It goes into this piggy bank. So for example, I have 1, I have 2, I have 3. These 3 $5, they will not be spent.
But you
They
say
go right-
every time one comes into your pocket, so you could pass over the other two.
No, he needs it more. He needs
You
it
don't
more.
know.
So it goes like that. The major point here is, because this is the most popular denomination, and Central Bank reported that, we tend to spend a lot of $5. So I want to advise persons, instead of stopping by a corn, buying things that you see on the side of the road, things that you don't need really, things that just satisfy your want, save it. And that could be your Christmas bonus right there.
Okay. All right, my eye seen the other. He's putting them. You want help?
You want to do?
You have to squeeze it in.
Apparently, August was a very good month for $5. Okay. You have to take it out. We breaking the pinky. Okay. While he tries to force some $5 in, we'll continue. Mrs. Boyd, what are some of the challenges you've seen from GUT Credit Union members? What's some of the challenges they're facing during this pandemic?
Well, I'm assuming you're talking about financial challenges because,
Yeah.
in COVID, you've had emotional challenges, mental challenges as well. But in terms
Financial.
of the financial challenges, a lot of our members have lost their income. Right? We've had a lot of businesses close their doors. Some members are on furlough. Some businesses have reduced their operating hours. Some persons are on rotation. So you may be getting an income, but it's reduced. It might be half of what you're getting, 2/3 of what you're getting. We have also some members we have noticed, of course, because of the income challenges, they're not allowed, they can't pay their debts, right? They have difficulty in terms of paying their debts, meeting their monthly commitments, utility bills, etc. And also, you have a situation in terms of increased costs because you may actually have your income, but as Randy said, you have the kids home, more groceries, more utilities as well. And then you have a situation where in some households, a large amount of the family members have lost their jobs. So you may have 1 or 2 persons now who have to cover the cost of the other members in the household. Okay. So you may have had, let's say, a family where, the 2 young siblings in their early 20s or so were working, the parents were working as well, but now you may only have one person working because the others have lost their job, or they're on furlough, or they're just waiting for their employer now to call them back to work. So you have a reduction in the income as well in that household. So we would have developed, some products to assist our members during that time. We have the COVID-19 loan where they can get a top-up on their loan to assist them during those times. We've also had arrangements where some persons may be able to get a withdrawal from their compulsory savings. We have giving out groceries to our members to assist, because the reality is some persons don't have any money to buy food. That's just the reality.
It's real. That's real.
Right? And while some persons may have family to assist, some may not, because their family also
Need help.
Right? So we would have had a COVID program that we are using to help our members. That's still on. And we've also offered a moratorium to our members who are facing financial challenges, those who are not able to meet their debt obligations with us, that we would provide that assistance as well.
Okay, so you've had the deductible set up with the GOT, and when someone comes in to you for that loan on the deductible, or even those that you have running now for the COVID-19, what's the talk like? What do you discuss with that person for that loan?
Well, we discuss what their challenges are, because everyone's challenge is different. As a matter of fact, we even have some persons who have seen business opportunities, that they may need a loan for. Because the reality is that in every sad situation, there is an opportunity. We just have to be open to seeing it and to leveraging and taking advantage of it. Yeah. So, we would have varying stories from persons, but the commonality is that they need some financial assistance, right? Okay. And based on their situation, we are ready to offer that assistance.
Okay, Randy, although you don't work at GOT, do you have any insights?
What I know is GOT is where you belong. it's where you belong. No, I mean, I know, and that's we're speaking to the ethos of the GOT Credit Union. The whole issue of looking at your member, understanding the needs of your member, and meeting the needs of the member where you have to. And I know that that's one thing that members of the GOT Credit Union can stand up loud and boast, that during this period the credit union really worked to work with its members. And I want to again congratulate Tisha and her team for helping Grenadians, because it's not just GOT Credit Union, it's Grenadians. And whatever they do to help families, eventually the whole society will be transformed. And I think that's one of the pillars that GOT was founded on. And again, congratulations and keep it up. So to persons who are challenged, because as Ritisha said, it's real. There are some persons who really cannot make two ends meet. And they may wonder what will happen tomorrow. The future seems so uncertain. It's so bleak. I mean, most of us may feel comfortable because our salaries are sure. But what do you say to the person who is in the private sector, in the hotel sector, who lost their job? Yeah, they might get a little support from the government through the stimulus package, but how far could that go? Yes. These are real situations, and COVID to me again reminds us of being our brother's keeper. Looking out down the street for the Grenadian boy or girl who do not have much to go to school with, now that school is open. And for those of us who have, if you can, lend support. And I know GOT Credit Union is providing that support where they can.
Okay. All right. So now, what can a person whose finances have been affected by COVID do to get over the effects? We've spoken about creating budgets. We've spoken about all these different things to help us getting over the effects. Because even though we're talking about, we're focusing on financial here, but the emotional, the psychological gets involved with the financial. And sometimes that makes us spend more because we're trying to not think about the issue at hand. So what do you say to people?
Well, we are human beings. Where there is a will, there is a way. And as long as you have life, you have hope. And the threat of COVID provides an opportunity for you to pick up yourself, dust yourself off, and move on. So yesterday, for example, you were working in the retail sector, helping somebody else sell goods or services. Now is your time to be an entrepreneur. You may say, okay, I don't have the capital, but there are opportunities there. There are avenues outside there that can provide, you can go out to get the support. Now is the time, and I will speak now as a cooperative member. Now is the time for communities to rally around each other. If I have $10, you have $10, the sister down the street have $10, we pull our resources together. This is a time where we have to, Susu, our cooperative, now is the time for resources to come together to see how we can transform our individual lives and our community. So, competing, I don't think we may do well by competing with each other at this point in time. Now is the time to work together, cooperative. So, the persons who are selling nuts, for example, 5 nut vendors competing for the same 150.
I always see this, especially the barbecuing. Everybody barbecuing on the same spot. Everybody selling the bun chicken, selling the bun corn. You know, how do we make this work so that I make some money, you make some money, and we're all... I'm talking here and I'm thinking about the bus system. They have the A and the B.
Oh, yes.
So everybody making a little something. That kind of mentality could work elsewhere.
And then you have to look at the niches. Look for the opportunities that possibly other persons are not taking advantage of, right? Now, COVID has been disastrous on so many levels and continue to be so for the entire world. But one of the lights that has come out of it is that you have had ingenious, creative businesses coming out from it. Persons who may not have even considered doing certain things were either forced to do it or encouraged to do it.
Like what? For example?
So, for example, I can give you one example in my neighborhood. We have an individual now who actually comes door to door to sell fruits and vegetables. We've never had that before.
That is awesome.
Never had that before. But they saw the opportunity. So instead of, no, I have to go to the market and you know, you're busy and so on, you know that this individual will come and he will go door to door in your neighborhood and sell. And his basket is always empty at the end, right? Now, because COVID has come and possibly income now is scarce, you have to think about what income streams, what can I do? And so that business just came out of it. And there are a number of other businesses that I have observed that really has developed from the bowels of COVID, because persons now have to find some alternative income stream. We have to think outside the box. We have to be creative and look at what are the new needs now of the market, and that I may not have thought about before, because you'll be surprised that there are demands and so hidden that now when you look at a business opportunity, you have the clientele and they're willing to pay for your service. So you have to now not just think about it traditional, but look at what the opportunities are and go for it.
You know, you're talking there, and just last week I was walking through St. George's, Zia Boxo, I think you know her.
Yes.
And I saw this thing on her shirt, and I thought she was in mourning, but in reality she had a mask saver. So she crocheted and she put it on her shirt, and she saves herself from buying masks all the time. Okay. I thought that was so smart. But anyway, let's continue. No, I've heard more people talk. We segue into this. They've talked about becoming financially independent more now than I've heard it before, because everybody's seeing the need to have more than one streams of income. You can't just depend on, you're working with the government of Grenada and you're getting a paycheck at the end of the month. Streams of income need to be coming different places. So what are some of the factors to consider when creating financial goals? Randy?
Well, you have to know, set some timelines. Where do I see myself financially in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Boom. You have to also ask yourself, what are the options out there in the market? So we know, for example, the financial institutions give you 2% on your savings. Deposits, 2%. You have to ask yourself, can that 2% satisfy me next 5, 10 years? Unfortunately, within our domestic space, we do not have much opportunities for savings. So I want to say that savings is also equal to investments. So we have to start looking at some investment opportunities. So whether you want to go and decide to go into real estate, because we know land generally appreciates in value. So you may have X amount of money sitting on an account. You may not have enough to buy a piece of land. You can partner with somebody. Buy
Cooperatives.
Cooperatives again, cooperatives again. So you partner with somebody, you buy 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, and then eventually you sell over. And you will not sell at a lower cost than you buy it. You sell at higher, so that's profit. And the question is, what do you do with that profit to reinvest? So that is just one example of how a person can, because we know, generally speaking, and you hear the statement, Grenadians like to save. Banks generally will post with liquidity. We don't have an appetite for investment because we don't like to take the risks. Some persons are saying, I don't know what the future holds. I think I prefer to leave my money sitting right there.
But someone else is spending it for you?
Somebody else is spending it for you. And as I said, every threat also provides an opportunity. So you have to go out there hard, think outside the box, be creative, and take the risk where you can take the risk. So investment. So you may have some monies invested. And business, small businesses, that's an opportunity for persons to invest. Also, governments of the OECS, Grenada, for example, you can invest in treasury bills, 91-day treasury bills. I know treasury bills and bonds are not a topic really that is punctuated in our society. We tend to save, put money in a bank account, credit union account to get 2%. But bonds, that's an opportunity for you. Treasury bills, another opportunity for you. Maybe in the future, GUT, maybe we can have a discussion on bonds and treasury bills, because these financial instruments provide opportunities for persons to earn more later on. And yeah, the time is not enough for us to explore on this topic. So I want to again charge GUT to have a topic on treasury bills and bonds. Of course. Right?
You have me tinkering here now.
No, we have to look for different opportunities for our monies. And saving is just one opportunity.
Just 2 things I want to add to Randy's comment, because of course there's a lot you can say on this. First, some persons might be thinking, well, how can I take my savings and, just go into an investment? How much should I use? The measure, if you're not too sure what your appetite is, invest what you are willing to lose.
Okay.
Right? To start. Because, sometimes you might take a go at it, it works out really well, or sometimes it doesn't, right? So to start, invest what you are willing to lose. So if, let's say, it doesn't pan out, you're not surprised, because that is the amount you are willing to lose anyways on your investment. But if it does work out, then you would have made a good return. And then research, right? Sometimes, persons would say, I have a good idea. I'm a friend tell me it would work, that's really good. But only a friend you spoke to. Did you actually, let's say, do some observations, go into the market, watch what's happening? You need data, right? It does not necessarily have to be, the formal data that, let's say, a big institution, may use, but you need some sort of information to direct the path that you want to go. You need some evidence or information. So let's assume you want to start doing a delivery service to St. Andrews, right? It cannot just be good in your head. You now have to go and do the manual. Go to St. Andrews, see what's there, speak to persons in the area. What are they looking for? You need to have the data, right? And when you have information, you make a more informed decision as well.
That's true. We've been talking, Randy, about cooperatives. I think one of the things people need to, there needs to be some ground rules. There needs to be some contracts to safeguard everyone, because we cannot go into cooperatives and so on blindly, because that causes problems down the line.
Of course.
So with those ideas about cooperatives and so on, what would you do you think they should go before a lawyer, or should they just set aside their own rules? Because word of mouth might not work for far long. Do you think they should create contracts? What?
But it starts with people learning how to work with people. I always made a point that it starts in our education system. As a past teacher, group work used to be one of the strategies I employ a lot, where persons have to work together. And the lawyers, the legal aspect, the contract, that can come after. I know that the Ministry of Cooperatives, there to provide support. Also, the Grenada Cooperative League is also there to provide support. Yeah, there are some requirements, number of persons that you need to have to form a cooperative, the whole issue of shares to formulate the cooperative. But these things, to me, will come eventually. But it has to start within the communities, it has to start within the homes, it has to start in the Grenadian society, where people see the value in working together. If we do not understand the importance and the value of working together, then you will catch yourself forming a cooperative today, and then tomorrow is no more.
I know this is not the crux of the discussion, but working together as a people, that has been a problem for us. And granted, as you pointed out, and it is clear that working together, banding together, pulling resources for the future, for the betterment of everybody, is best. Working together, getting politics out of the way. I'm not talking about the NMP and NDC kind of politics, not that kind of politics, but our own, being able to work together. That, in essence, that is a totally different topic. We might need a psychotherapist for that.
No,
or a sociologist.
But it's needed, because the new future, the post-COVID period, requires us for us to work together.
Yes,
There's
to
no
get
two
out
ways
of
about
this, we have, because we're not one man, we're not an island.
Correct.
We need to work together. So, okay, you spoke about moratorium. How does one know that he or she needs a moratorium?
Well, firstly, let me explain what a moratorium is.
Okay, before we get into that,
Okay.
we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we talk about a moratorium. And we want you to go to the poll, go to www.menti.com, that's MENTI.com, and use the code 5680120 to answer 2 poll questions this week. My current emergency fund covers expenses for at least 1 to 4 months, 5 to 8 months, 9 to 12 months. Don't have an emergency fund. Second question, when do you think the local economy will begin to recover? 6 to 12 months, 12 to 24 months, 2+ years. Thank you for viewing. We'll be right back.
I'm reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. I'm reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. Since 1983, they've been serving the country, and we like all their financing, giving the people what they want, what they need, what they love. Come and join the family that's here for you all the way. From birth to graduation, your first job to your home, and you're caught through your golden years.
The GT Credit Union has been actively supporting nation building through its many sponsorships and programs including Financial Literacy Quiz, Pass the Torch Calypso Program, Junior Cooperatives in Secondary Schools, CPEA, and the TAMCC Grants. The credit union has helped many people make their dreams come true. Let them help you with yours. You don't have to be a teacher to be a member. So what are you waiting for?
GUT Credit Union, it's where you belong. I'm reaching my dreams with GUT. They're the ones for me. I'm reaching my dreams with GUT. They're the ones.
Welcome back to A Closer Look, and we are talking about finances, the family, COVID-19, how it has affected the family. Now, before we went to break, we were talking about moratorium. Ritisha, define moratorium, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Arana. Now, a moratorium is a postponement of a loan payment to a future date. So, you know, every month you have your loan payment, but you are going to postpone that loan payment to maybe 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, you know, depending on what the moratorium period is. Now, the interest, of course, is still generating, but you're going to be paying later on at a future date. Now, usually, financial institutions will offer moratoriums usually when there is a mass crisis in the economy, and of course, you have their members and their customers needing that kind of financial help. Now, a moratorium is not for everyone, because at the end of the moratorium, you still have your loan to pay.
Yes.
Right? Along with the accruing interest. Now, if you have an income challenge, so if you have a reduction in your income and you cannot pay your monthly debt commitments, then the option of a moratorium is available to you until you can get back on your feet and you're able to start the loan payments later on.
Okay.
Because once you have a moratorium, there is a high chance that your loan repayment period will extend once you start to pay again, because you have not been paying. So your loan balance or your principal balance is still there, and your interest now has been added up, so your overall now is a little bit more. So if you have an income that has not been affected and you can pay your monthly debt commitments, it is advisable to continue to pay. A moratorium is only for those persons who have had a financial challenge and they would need it. We have had, for example, some members say they want a moratorium because they just want a break. But nothing has happened to their income. The income is fine and they can pay, right? That is not the reason for a moratorium. Once your income is unaffected and you can pay your debt, it is advisable to pay your debts, because the loan repayment period, of course, may extend, right? And in speaking about extensions, this is a segue. It's not necessarily for moratoriums alone. It is always advisable that at least you try to ensure that your loan repayments do not go into your retirement years, right, on a normal basis, because your working income, the income during your working life, is usually much more than your income during your retirement. Unless you had a great financial plan and you listened to what Randy had to say and you made a lot of investments and you have a windfall or lump sum waiting for you on your retirement, usually your retirement income is much less than the income in your working life. So you want to make sure that whatever loans you take, that it does not go into your retirement as much as possible.
Okay, so one viewer, asked, his name is Justin Hazard, any incentives for new people, new members of GOT? Do you have any?
Well, the cooperative movement and the cooperative model, in my estimation, is the incentive, and I'll explain what I mean. This is a really unique model of pooling your finances, pooling your resources together for your own needs, to meet your own needs. And I always tell a person, I've said this many times, that the cooperative model is a gift from God, right? Because if you look at it, it's persons pooling their resources, coming together and meeting their own needs. How ingenious that you don't have to wait for someone else to provide it for you. So as a member of the credit union, you are also part owner of the credit union. You cannot say that about some financial institutions. You are just a customer. So you have no influence generally in the decision making. But as a member of the credit union, you can participate in the economic activity. You participate in the decision making at our annual general meeting. And as a member, you also get to benefit from surplus sharing. So the surplus from the credit union goes back into the members through dividends. Okay. As a member as well, you have access to our many products, our loan products, our saving products, our card products as well, that you can access. So Justin, if you're not a member, it's where you belong. I hope to see you tomorrow morning, Justin. Come and open your account.
What time? What time should he be there?
As early as he can make it.
5 o'clock in the morning?
No, sir, Anna. When the office opens.
What time does the office open?
All of our branches open at 8 o'clock, except for Grandans. They open at 8:30, so it's from 8 to 3 p.m. and Grandans 8:30 to 3:30.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just to add to that, let me list out the branches, Serrano, for those who do not know.
Certainly.
We have a branch in St. George's in the city. We have one in Grandans, one in Victoria. We also have a branch in Carriacou, and we have one in Grenville.
Excellent. Now we're wrapping up time. So any extra points you'd like to give to viewers about finances, budgeting, you know?
I will just want to say in closing that financially you know where you are, and you're not proud of where you are, and you know where you would like to be. It's important therefore to put the systems in place to take you where you are to where you want to be. And this comes with some serious, honest, open, candid, frank discussion that you need to have with yourself and with your family. And that's the only how, in my view, you will transform your finances in a sustainable manner. So again, know where you are, target where you want to be, and put the proper financial systems in place to get there.
Excellent. Ritisha?
Discipline. It is a hard thing to do. The reality is that some things that are good for us, we don't want. If you think of medication, sometimes the worst tasting medication are the ones that, can do the job. So, there are certain things that we would have to do with our lives and our finances. It may be difficult, but we have to do it. As we say in the local palang, ban your belly, right? So it's going to be difficult, right? But at the end of it, you will reap the benefits, right? So, you make sure that you really have to practice, and discipline can be learned, If you think of sometimes when you were in school and, certain behaviors you had and so on, and certain things that, the teachers did to train you, your behaviors changed. So now you have to train yourself to change your behaviors, and it can be done. It may be hard in the beginning, but don't give up.
Thank you so much, Randy and Ritisha. The poll questions from menti.com. For my current emergency fund cover expenses for at least 1 to 4 months, we have 41%. 5 to 8 months, 11%, 9 to 12 months, 11%, and don't have an emergency fund, 36%. When do you think the local economy will begin to recover? 6 to 12 months, 19% of you. 12 to 24 months, 35% of you. 2+ years, 47%. Thank you so much for viewing and participating in our poll. Next week we'll be back here at 6 p.m. and next week that question will be what we'll be talking about, the discussion. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, what you need to know about wills and estate planning. Thank you very much, Randy and Ratisha, for your time and for your knowledge. And the piggy bank, I'm looking at the $5 piggy bank. Okay. I am Sarana Mitchell. Thank you so much for viewing. Have a great one.
I'm reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. I'm reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. Since 1983, they've been solving the